All right, we're rolling.
Okay.
Merrill, good to meet you, man.
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself
Okay.
and tell everybody why you're here.
My name is Jack Merrill. I was born here in Cleburne. Been in Johnson County most of my life. I went to school in Rio Vista, but I live in Blum now. And honestly, the opportunity came up when you gave me a call. I guess we have some mutual friends, and you thought might have something interesting to share with you or talk about. So that's why I'm here today.
All right, man. So I know you're involved in the rodeo
Yes, sir.
this year. Let's talk about that. What do you
Okay.
got? What do you got planned for us?
Man, there's so many changes that have been made to the Johnson County Sheriff's Posse. Just in this year, we've added like a 40 booth vendor booth out in front of the grandstands there, and it's almost full now. Like there's been so many people call that want to bring hat companies and T-shirt companies, leather goods, just anything you can think of. They're going to sell it in that vendor booth right beside the arena during the rodeo this year. There's another project we've been working on, and we hope it doesn't rain too much to ruin it. But we've put a new road from the Blue Barns or the livestock barns all the way out to Highway 4. And most people didn't even know that there was a gate on Highway 4 right by the railroad tracks for the entirety of the Sheriff's Posse's existence. And it was all grown up. And, man, there were so many people that donated their time and money and efforts to build that road so that hopefully, whether we use it for a contestant's entry and exit or we use it for a point of ingress, egress, we could get people out onto Highway 4 instead of all of the traffic on 174 backed up all the way through town.
Yeah.
This kind of makes it where, if the cars after the rodeo are able to exit out that road, they can kind of filter themselves through town and not be concentrated in one spot.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a lot safer way to do that. Also, getting our contestants' trucks and trailers in there before the rodeo, because they actually park behind the indoor building there, and to keep from having those trucks and trailers take up so much room on the highway, they can go and park and totally be out of the public's way to begin with. At least we hope so. Man, I'll tell you something really cool. The Sheriff's Posse and all of its members, we love the military. We love that stuff. And I've got a guy named Dana Bowman that is scheduled to jump out of a plane with a 2,000 square foot American flag to drop in the arena right at the beginning of their performance on Wednesday night.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that's our our military night and stuff like that. And I've got to be the rodeo chairman this year, and I've rodeoed all over the country. Whether it was with my dad when he was a pickup man, or riding broncs, or picking up myself. I've seen lots of rodeo, and I've seen really cool stuff. And man, we're just about letting the public know that we're there for them, and we want to have an awesome event for those in Johnson County. We've added more money to the rodeo events, and what I'm hoping is that'll bring in more rodeo contestants and rough stock, and get some of those big names, which is really hard to compete because there's 4 rodeos going on that week, with ours included. You have Coleman, Texas, Weatherford, Texas is a biggie, and then Gladewater's going on. They were off of our dates, but now they've moved back. So, I mean, honestly, those guys have a lot to choose from, and added money is usually the thing, but also the stock that they get to draw from. We've got Danny Reagan and his son with United Pro Rodeo, and they just won the American on Awesome Sauce. That was Statler Wright won the bronc riding there. So we've got some really good stock, and sometimes getting a good draw is even more than the money, because if you know you're going to win with a little bit less added money, it would be better than going somewhere else where you didn't have a good draw. And those guys will turn out where they don't have. They're like, oh man, I don't want that horse. That's not good. Let me go this rodeo. And like I said, I'm just using Awesome Sauce as an example, but they're going to be 85 points on that horse. So like, I'd rather know I could go get on him and have the chance to win that rodeo than I did to go get on a no-name horse or one that doesn't really have that good of stats. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for the rodeo, and we just we just want to put on a great event, and everybody in Johnson County come see it.
Yeah.
You know.
I plan on coming.
Yeah.
Usually try to come every year. I like it. My wife likes it too, except for the heat part of it.
Yep.
It's usually pretty damn hot out
Yeah, it's pretty hot, and it's one of two ways. We either have torrential downpours or we have 105 heat. We've had enough downpours. We've got some really cool stuff planned, but we got to have enough dry dirt that we can actually do it and not be plowing through wet mud. So I'm praying that we get to use the water truck this year and don't have to rely on rain. So that's what we have hopes for, anyways.
That'll be good. That'll be good.
Yep.
So you say you live in Blum. You say you run cattle and stuff like that too. So
Yes,
you're
sir.
pretty much just all-time cowboy, right?
I've done a little bit of everything to pay the bills and feed my kids. I will say that. I grew up. My like I said, my dad was a rodeo pickup man, and we caught cattle with dogs all over Johnson County, Hill County, Bosque County when I was a kid, and that was kind of life. My dad never had a job. He was just a cowboy. He was either riding broncs, pickup man, or catching cows for people while he was home from rodeos. And so I went to Hill College by accident. I don't know how you do that by accident, but I actually was practicing riding broncs with some of the guys, and Paul Brown was down there, and he said, "Hey kid, you want to go to school?" I'm like, "Not really. I don't want to." He said, "Well, you can ride broncs and stuff like that." So my wife, her parents, they told her even after we got married that she was going to at least go get a 2-year or something like that. And so again, we went to school married, and I thought, well, if she's going, I guess I will too. So I started riding bucking horses at Hill College and had a lot of fun. I think the first year there, I got to go to the college conference finals. They had that. It was kind of a intercollegiate deal where they were trying to break it down before you went to the big finals or whatever, and that's changed since. But we had a lot of fun, and then transferred out to Sul Ross. My dad's little brother Steve, he was a football coach, basketball coach, principal. He did everything. True to our family, you just do anything and everything, and you get it done. And he was at Fort Davis, which is the town over from Sul Ross State University at Alpine, Texas. So me and my wife went out there. But anyways, I could have gone to horseshoeing school. I could have done meat science out there, which I was doing ag commodities marketing, which I thought was really above my pay grade or ability in the future from where I was at then. But I almost went broke. I came home. We came home from school, and I started shoeing horses and welding and, doing all those things. So I built cattle pens and fences and all that kind of stuff for long years. And at the same time, I was trying to ride colts and just do anything I could do to feed our kids, and that came eventually. And but lo and behold, after all these years, like I said, I've been all over the world. We were in Alaska for 4 or 5 summers training horses for a kids' Bible camp. It was on the ocean. It was like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. Great opportunity, God-given. And we came home, and while I was up there, this leads into what you're asking, what I do now. So I had met Tim Linus with Linus Construction here in town, and he had me come out to build a set of cattle pens. So I started building these cattle pens one summer, and the very next summer, I had a guy that asked me about coming to Alaska to train these horses and be part of this program they had up there and stuff like that. And man, I was neck deep in bills. Like, we had us a really nice place that I drove past yesterday and got to see it for the first time in years. But I was running my wheels off just to make the payment, pay the electricity and stuff like that. I'm like, man, I can't leave here. I can't leave. And he told me, he said, man, if God calls you to do that, he said, there's no stopping it. And I agreed with him, but I just couldn't see how it was going to come together. I said, I would have to sell this place, and I was at a point where my boys were I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to feed, clean stalls, start riding colts. I'd mall walk from the barn back to the house to grab a little bite to eat, then turn around and go back. You get to about 11 o'clock. My wife, she was doing like preschool with those boys in our house, and they would come out there and they'd be playing in the dirt beside the brown pen, which is cool, except for you can only lope so many circles with every time you go by your little boy saying, Daddy, Daddy, when are you going to stop and play with us?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that just broke me because I grew up, my dad was a working dude. I mean, it is 5 o'clock in the morning in the summertime. He gonna squirt water through the window at you if you didn't wake up and help him saddle horses. We go work cows somewhere, And so I started considering it because I had seen that place. A girl had went up there to help with that program in Alaska, and it's outside of Juneau, like 40 miles from town in the middle of the woods. And you either ride a horse, take a boat, or if the tide's out, you could take a big old jacked up 4-wheel drive and actually drive through the floor of the ocean where the tide was out to get to this place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was totally remote. And thousands of kids every year go out there. It's like the only place for them to go anywhere around Juneau. And it is a Bible camp. It had been there for 50 years. But there was all kinds of kids go. They weren't like church kids. It was like all the kids from Juneau scheduled their age group and went out there. It didn't matter whether they believed in God or not. They wanted to go out there and have fun, see horses, and enjoy the week out there. But I had seen a lady do a presentation on that place probably 10 years before that. And when I saw the presentation, I'm backstepping to give you a little history here. I saw that video and I looked at my wife and said, man, I'd love to do that. And I thought, I'll never do anything like that. I got to work the rest of my life,
Yeah.
And 10 years forward, the guy calls me. Like, no connection. He was a guy that lived in Waxahachie. My stepsister, she has a Purina store there in Waxahachie. And he was talking about what he wanted to do, and she goes, oh, you ought to call my brother Jack. And he hits me up, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me, guy. So we have a meeting with him. Anyways, we are months from going, and I said, I've got to get out of debt before I can do this. And I said, I really am kind of about that right now. I said, because I'm falling in the same trap that everybody else does. Mm-hmm. I said, I got 2 little boys sitting right here begging for my time like every other kid. I worked with my dad a lot, but it was a lot of work. We did have fun, but it was a lot of work. And I thought, how can I do this? And anyways, so we decided that I told him, I said, I put my house for sale. House and 30 acres, beautiful place that everybody would beg for their whole lives. God had already provided it for me. And I think, man, how can I do this? So I thought, I'm going to put it for sale. And I told him, I said, if my house sells, I'll go. And if it doesn't, I can't go. He said, okay. And he laughed at me. He did. He laughed at me. I thought, okay, well, so we rock on, and nothing's happening. I'm still, like I said, I was working to pay the bills and doing anything I could. And I got a real estate license, but at the time, I think we're around 2000, maybe in 08, 09, something like that. The market had crashed. That's why I was back to work, because I'd sold some land. We lived on it for almost a year before I ran out of money. I was really good about putting it in the bank and acting like I don't have it. Yeah. I'll just keep working, but we had ran out, and even working was getting pretty thin. So about a month out, my wife, she said, this is going to happen. I said, our house isn't selling. She gets plane tickets for all 4 of us to go to Juneau, Alaska.
Oh, man.
Yeah, on the date we were supposed to leave, no matter what. And within a week or two of when we were supposed to leave, and I said, I mean, you're going to have to cancel those tickets, get your money back, whatever. I can't even pay for them right now. A guy shows up and gave us more than we were asking for our place, cash, and pays it off. We closed and were funded the day before we leave to go to Alaska.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. That's what I was telling you. My life has been crazy, and timing and things like that have happened. And there wasn't nothing I could do but get on that plane because I thought God's chasing my little tail to
right.
Alaska to do what He asked me to do. So we got to spend about 4 summers up there. Like I was going to go for 2 weeks, ended up staying 9 weeks the first time.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I evaluated the program, and it's in my nature to try to figure out. I like to find efficiencies in things. I like to figure out how I can make things better. So I just like fly on the wall. I rode and trained horses and waved at the kids and, kind of taught them lessons and things like that while we were up there. And, it was a fun time, but I found where the holes were, where the money was being spent irresponsibly. And I found, people that might not have been doing what they should be doing to make the thing progress, not for themselves, but for the people that were coming or the kids that were coming. Like, make this the best experience they've ever had in their whole life.
Yeah, right.
So the next year after we got through that, I gave my evaluation to the camp director there. Like I said, we had like 20 something horses, 25 horses, 12 of them were them old happy trail riding horses that anybody could ride. But they had a breeding program where they bred all these draft crosses. There were Friesians and Morgans and quarter horses mixed with Percherons and all that, big old drafty heavy duty suckers. And they were 4 and 5 year olds that had only been rode a little bit, and they turned them out after camp, and they're out there 6 months in the wilds of Alaska with bears and everything. And then you get them up and they're real snorty and want a buck and all that. I rode horses belly deep in the ocean trying to just ride it out of them, up there. And it was not an easy task at first. But I gave my evaluation to the camp director, and I said, this is what I think we need to do. This is, we need to add these things. You need to, change this for the kids, for the better of the program. And he looked right at me and said, you come back as the program director next year for all summer? I was like, oh, man, I don't know. I love it up here, and it was fun. But so I went back as the horse program director the next year, me and my wife and my boys. And my boys were running the wilds of Alaska and catching salmon, and they had a blast. And I feel like we helped a lot of kids while we were up there doing that. But that leads into Tim Linus. He knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
So we would save projects, on land that he bought, or we even closed deals while I was in Alaska. I'd go into town so you could actually use a telephone and work on stuff, email papers back and forth. He'd sign stuff via email and buy a big tract of land. And then when I got home for the wintertime, we were running yearlings. We were building pipe pens, developing those places. And then when it was time to go, we just shut down and we'd go back to Alaska. So we did that for 4 summers. And it was great. So then when we got done going to Alaska, I thought we had helped the program to where someone could take the place of what we were doing and just move on with it, because when you get into programs like that, and it can even happen like the Sheriff's Posse, there's so many members that have been there for years and years and years. I didn't want it to be my program. I wanted to do the best with it, make it efficient, make it profitable for the kids and the camp so they didn't waste money, and then hand it over to somebody to just operate. It's like it's already rolling, it's already moving. Just get in there and just be happy and love on kids and take care of those horses, and it's golden. So we did that, and I kind of thought, if anybody ever comes along that can do this the way we're doing it or do it better than me, I'm handing it off because it's not mine. I was just asked to go do it, and I'm going to go do it for a little while and give it to somebody else because it's not about me. So I come home, and I've been pressing on Tim about this yearling deal. It's like, we run cow-calf and stuff like that. And I said, but there's really a lot more money in the yearling operation. I said, if we do it efficiently, all the things. So we start off, we have 400 or 500 yearlings, and then there were 500 or 600 yearlings. And then, he was buying more land around, leasing more land, stuff like that. Tim and his brother had always farmed, so they were doing the oats and the wheat and stuff like that. And I was just handling the cattle as far as, health and buying and stuff like that. It was kind of all hands on deck, really. Even Tim's wife, Lori, she was planting oats and pastures and checking mineral and doing everything. But we did really good for quite some time, and we at one year we had over 1,400 yearlings. So it took everybody. It took my boys. We roped and doctored. There were sick cattle everywhere. We made it through. It was not as profitable as we thought to grow so fast.
Yeah.
But somewhere around in there, one of Tim's his estimators had retired or something like that, and Tim said, "Man, I got to go be back in our construction office because that's the wheels that turn this thing." So he did that, and the next year he said, "You can keep running the yearlings if you want to, but you got to figure out how to finance it." And I told you, I sold everything I had just to go to Alaska for a few years and do that, and still selling land, building fence, whatever. But I had another older gentleman that was a real estate broker that I knew that I'd rode some horses for, and back when I was a kid. And I called him up and I said, "I got this yearling deal," and I said, "I'm looking to finance it." And we've been operating it. And I kind of showed him some numbers, and he's like, "Man, these investors want more return than that, But he said, "I'll tell you what, we'll loan you $100,000." I'm like, "Hey, that's awesome." So he writes me $100,000 check and says, "You just pay us interest on it at the end of the year." I said, "Well, I ship by May 10th because the oats are played out and they're burned up." And so the first year I bought some yearlings and stuff like that. And then we got into this other deal where we leased like 3,500 acres, about 150 cows. We're leasing from the U.S. government. And so now me and this guy's name's Tony and Todd, we create this LLC, and now we have cows, and I have yearlings. So I'm running the yearling deal, and then I buy the cows from our cow operation to put in our yearling operation. Mm-hmm. So it works out really good because I know what I'm getting. They're healthy, and I've done all my vaccines and stuff like that. So we've done that for a couple of years, and now it's growing where we have cattle leases, me and those guys, Paris, Texas, Antelope, Texas, Bellevue, Texas, Crawford, Texas, Blum, Texas, and it just keeps growing. And now we are also running yearlings together, and that's growing every year too. So there's I think there's 400 or 500 acres of oats that we're using in the wintertime, and then, like I said, all those lease pastures. Well, now my boys are, my oldest, Levi, is 18, and he'll say, "Dad, I need to go check those cows down at Crawford today." Okay, take off. He's taking care of cows. I'm taking care of yearlings at the house. And like I said earlier, my oldest boy is he is the ranch mechanic, if you will.
Yeah.
I can work on some stuff. I don't have patience for it anymore. And he'll take carburetors off of stuff and rebuild them and put them back together on my four-wheeler, on, whatever it is. And Luke is my youngest one. He's 16 now. Got his own set of horses, truck, trailer he's bought himself. And he's helping with the family business too. He's like I had said before, family motto, if your last name is Merrill, is rope, ride, shoot, and fight. And if you can do all those things by the time you're grown, you'll make it. And but he likes training colts. He likes roping cattle. And he's been training a little bit with Brody Cress. I don't know if you know Brody Cress, the bronc rider's won the average at the NFR a few years. And they have moved down from Wyoming, and they're in Weatherford now. So Luke will go to Brody's, and they ride the spur board, and he's been, setting him up, training. And I hadn't said this yet, but when Luke was little, him and Levi, they had all these ponies, and they were training ponies and selling ponies and all this stuff. But they asked me one day, it's like, "Dad, what's the difference between this and riding a saddle bronc?" I said, "Well, you're riding in a stock saddle, and those ponies are really bucking pretty good, but if you had a bronc saddle, like a bronc rider rides, it'd be a lot better." So Luke, both the boys, they rode ponies with bareback riggings, and they rode ponies, they rode cows, they rode everything around our place. And so we got Luke a kid's saddle bronc saddle. And he had this pair of ponies that would buck, and every night, so he wanted to go to the junior NFR. So he set out to do that. And he's 8 years old. And every single night for 6 nights a week for 9 months, he would buck those 2 ponies out, and I would help him. He would get on those 2 bucking ponies for practice every single night of the week.
Wow.
Yeah, we did that out behind the house. And I had those ponies on a tether where I'd put them behind the gate. He gets on them. He'd sit down in there and lift on his rein and nod. And he'd ride those ponies around. And if he got in trouble, I had him on a lead rope. They're literally this bucking right beside me, and they could really do it. He'd get in bad shape. I just push him back to the middle. I say, keep practicing, kid. He'd just keep going around until he ran out of gas. So we did that every single night for 9 months. And he would enter the little junior NFR events. And that little rascal ended up the reserve world champion pony bronc rider in Vegas at the junior NFR.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
At 9 years old?
Yeah, he's just this big, and he could really ride one. And he won that on 2 head. He bucked off of one that he didn't even nod for. They just opened the gate. And it was probably the rankest horse in the pen. And he said, Dad, I wish I could get on him again. Back then, he said, I could ride him because he could really ride. Like, it was so good, though. He won a round. He was like 84 points in the pony bronc riding where the pony's feet were this high off the ground. I mean, just like leaping for the sky. And it was so good. I was talking to Billy Atbauer in the bathrooms as junior NFR. He said, I got to see that video of that kid. So I got to show him Luke's ride to Billy Atbauer and to think that he asked to see my son's ride. And Luke didn't even know who he was. I took him by his booth later. He's like signing autographs. I said, Luke, that's Billy Atbauer. He's like, who's Billy Atbauer? I'm like, oh my gosh, we got to get you with it, buddy. But so he did that. And there a couple years later, or a year later, whatever, he was a little guy in the stock on youth rodeos. There's a transition period in there, and it was just too big, too much. And I told him, I said, okay, this was really cool, and it was fun. You're riding ponies. I said, if you want to be a bronc rider, I said, this is a great place to start. You've done really well, but I'm going to wait until your body grows and is stronger and all that. And I said, about the time you're 16, 17 years old, if you want to be a bronc rider, I said, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to want it. I said, because it's a lot different than this. Not much, but the horses are stronger. It's a whole different ball game. Mm-hmm. So he's toyed with it back and forth, and he can rope. He's rope steers and stuff like that. But Brody's got a practice horse for him, and we missed it last week. He was going to get on his first big horse with a bronc saddle, and it rained us out, because we buck horses over there sometimes. But he's really looking forward to that, to see what it's about, because he's 5'8", 5'9", and weighs about 130 pounds.
Oh,
he's lightweight. Yeah, he's a lanky kid, and so we'll see. He's been working out hard, and we always give him a hard time. He's got a set of washboard abs. Like, what do you do? He just ropes cattle, rides colts, and works out all the time. So he wants to be a beast at it, and I think he's going to be. But
man, that's too cool.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we've had so much crazy stuff in our lives, but I'm just trying to think of what else, like we just shipped yearlings. That's another thing that just happened. So we shipped 5 semi-loads of calves out. They've been on wheat for, depending on when they got here, 4 or 5 months. And the cattle market is insane right now. And I would say this, like I figure things backwards and forwards, and I have the calculator out, and I have, I pin those calves when I buy them, or, if we raise them, I have a lot more leeway in what they make, because it's cheaper right now to raise them than it is to go buy them. You go buy a 500-pound calf at the sale barn anywhere. A steer's probably going to be $2,500. Mm-hmm. And I sold 840-pound steers that brought $3,062 a piece. Oh, that is insane, So we've been able to do really good, and that's why, like I said, I've had so many people help me over the years while I'm still trying to do what's right. I'm always trying to give back. My kids they're tired of hearing about the rodeo, because it's like it's engulfed our time and thoughts, and there's so many young guys in the sheriff's posse that are they're helping raise money. They're, and then the old guys that have been there for years, they like, did you remember to do this? Did you remember to call this guy or make sure this guy's, going to be there? And it's been a lot to undertake, but it's been really exciting, and we're excited about the result. If we can hold that rain off just a little bit,
Yeah.
so that everybody in Johnson County can come have a blast. Like I said, we're trying to add some things that are really great for the public. Another thing that I was thinking right off that needs to be said, we're trying to work with I guess it'd be a 401c3 that's called the Golden Circle of Champions.
Okay.
You've seen at the NFR where the Cowboys are wearing the gold hats and they got the gold bandanas and stuff, and that's really about kids with cancer, and that's what that's about. And some of our media team is looking for, and they found a couple of kids in the Johnson County area that are battling cancer. So we're going to try to raise money for those kids on, I think the night is Friday night that we're going to do the Golden Circle of Champions, and everybody wear gold and stuff like that. But bring those kids to the arena and let them have a blast at the rodeo. And and this leads right into something that's people may like or they may dislike, but I'm just going to tell you, to put on a better performance, it's taken a lot of money, and we've raised a lot more money to do that. And like I said, there's so many members of the Sheriff's Posse that work on so many different things. One of our hardest things to keep up with is all the traffic in the parking. Mm-hmm. So one of the guys in another rodeo at Waxahachie, they'd kind of given us this idea about hiring a parking company. I thought, man, you go to Fort Worth, you go to any of those big rodeos, they have a parking company. Even the smaller ones sometimes do. So we figured out that we could hire a parking company and to help us park cars. We still have our main guys that are horseback. That way people see them. And, the same guys every year for years have been parking cars there horseback. And they'll, same familiar faces. You see a horse when you come in the gates. But we hired this parking company to help us park cars. This guy tells us he can park 20% more cars in that same available space. Now, mind you, rain changes things because it gets wet out there in the grass.
It's mostly grass. Yeah.
But we've decided that we were going to charge a whole $5 for parking. You can come in and there'll be like 4 or 5 spots. You can pay your $5 for parking. You can buy those parking tickets online right now to even make it faster. But $5 for parking, and we're going to pay that parking crew out of that $5 that everybody pays, and then we're going to take part of the proceeds of that and give it to those cancer kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think, if I was a guy showing up to the rodeo or a family or whatever, knowing this ahead of time, and it's like in 70 years, they've never paid for parking, but it's a whole $5.
Yeah.
And if you know that part of that $5 is going to go to those kids, it's not that bad.
No.
The other thing is we still only have $15 adult tickets. Like you can't even.
So cheap.
It's so cheap. You can't even go to an amateur rodeo anywhere around here for less than almost $25 for tickets. So I'm not going to say it's completely true, but I bet that we have the cheapest PRCA rodeo tickets in the state of Texas right now.
I'd say, it's cheap. I love going, man, because it's always a good time out there.
Yeah.
You get a good show, and then just being there with all the people and the energy. With everybody cheering and all that stuff. It's a good time, man. And, I'm glad to hear, too, about with all the cattle and all the stuff. And, you're buying more land and buying more cattle. And I'm glad that that's, going on out here because, it just seems like everybody's gotten away from it.
Yeah.
And so just the fact that we're still actually, raising regular beef instead of going to all this lab made shit.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
My gosh. Yeah, that's an awful thing. I mean, there's not many of us left that are trying to be in the cattle business or trying to farm. That's a dying thing, and it's not just because there's so many reasons why. People people are taught that convenience is easy and better.
Mm-hmm.
A convenient life is an easy life. You need to go be a doctor and a lawyer, and we need all those things in certain aspects. But we also need food to eat.
Yeah.
We also need men that can be electricians and weld and build homes. And if everybody goes and gets a degree, that's an office job, who's gonna provide?
Yeah.
Who's gonna provide those other things that we need? And there's lots of young men that are learning that they're going to trade schools now. They're kind of moving away from 4-year degrees or anything above that, because there was a friend of mine was telling me yesterday that you could go to an electrical school, and one of them was promising these students $300,000 when they walked out of there.
Oh, wow.
Like in the first 2 years, they make $300,000. It takes a good, hard-headed, working kid to be an electrician or a welder or any of those things. And there's some of us that were not studious students, and I'm the first one to tell you I was terrible. I was a terrible student. I could go, and I knew I was terrible because I could go in and make 100 on a test and never did a stitch of homework all week long. Now, I did a lot of cow work, and I was, digging post holes and cleaning stalls and all that when I got home from school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I had time for homework, and I really didn't want to do it anyways. So I knew there was more. I could do more than I did. I knew that, but I always had an entrepreneurial type mindset, and you can tell by the things that I've told you. Like I've never really wanted the normal life that anybody else had. I just wanted to do whatever I wanted to do when I got up in the morning, and that came with a lot of work. That came with a lot of sacrifices. It came with a lot of failures and downfalls and things like that. But, like I said, we just had an awesome year. I get up every morning and we either saddle a horse or drive a truck feeding cattle and doctoring and doing those things. And all of that is worth this. And being able to raise my kids in that is worth it. All the hardships and all those things. And, just to have one great year and to be able to buy a new pair of boots or whatever. And, the boys like, man, I don't know if I want this or I want to do that. I just don't know if we can afford this. I said, I don't remember what Levi or Luke was asking me. I said, it's really not that bad, buddy. I said, I can buy you that.
Yeah.
Like, really, Dad? Like, yeah, it's good. Cattle market's good. We're doing good. I'd love to buy you whatever it was, a new rope or a pair of boots, or I said, just take the credit card and go buy you 4 or 5 pairs of pants. You need to upgrade, But we pay our credit card off at the end of every month.
Yeah, dude, that's the way I do it too.
Yeah.
They offer all this cashback stuff.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. If you're not using that, you're paying for it anyway.
Yes, sir.
Because they're charging you for those credit card fees and all that shit. So, I do the same thing. Put it all on there. I pay it off at the end of the month, and then after the end of the year or whatever, all of a sudden you just go in there and look at those rewards that you got. You're like, oh man, I can go buy this. I can go buy that.
My wife set that one up, and it's air miles. We flew, and this is another thing. We have this great veterinarian friend that was coming to Alaska. She had actually donated semen from her really fine quarter horse stud to breed to these drafty type mares to help produce more horses for that camp. And it's Dr. Lisa Stevens. She was a repro vet over in Weatherford. Now she's in Alaska. She's not in Alaska. She came to Alaska to castrate and do health and stuff like that on those colts that we were raising out of those mares. But she has a clinic in Maui, Hawaii. And before she was the one that taught me how to do the air miles and stuff and pay all your bills with your credit card and, create some fun stuff for you. Anyways, she has this house in Maui, Hawaii. And she used to have this thing where if you spent a couple $100 in her vet clinic when she was here in Weatherford, that she put your name in the hat and she let one of her customers go stay in her house in Maui, Hawaii.
Oh, that's cool.
So I always called her about stuff, and I asked her one day, I said, I got some horses. I'm going to get some coggins on them. Maybe I'll let you do some dental or whatever. She said, why are you bringing them all the way over here? Don't you got a vet over? I said, yeah, but I want to put my name in the hat. I'd like to take my wife and go to Maui, Hawaii, She laughed. She said, oh, gosh, because we'd already spent 2 or 3 years in Alaska helping with that program. She goes, "Y'all go just whenever you want to. Just let me know." I didn't have to go through the trouble. She just let us do it.
That's awesome.
And my wife, she's a travel bug. She always has been. She's like, "Oh man, this is the greatest." We take the whole family over there. We stayed in her house. All we paid for was food and airline tickets. We didn't have to pay the airline tickets because we already saved all the miles because we've been paying our bills off. And we spent like 2 weeks in Maui, Hawaii.
Oh, man, when was this?
Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and we had a blast. The kids got to do an introduction to scuba diving, where they actually let you go scuba diving. It's what it is. They train you on the beach, put your BCD on, you go scuba diving, 35 foot of water with sharks and fish and everything else.
Man, I bet that was fun.
It was a blast. It was the most beautiful thing underwater I'd ever seen in my life. You just can't take that away. So we ended up coming home, and we later on, all of us got certified. So now we're scuba certified.
That's fun, man.
Yeah.
How often y'all go do that stuff?
We haven't gone scuba diving since we've been home. Yeah, because I've been in the cattle deal.
Yeah,
like my son told me the other day, like, when we gotta go scuba diving? I'm like, okay, we gotta go scuba diving, but because it's like every time I have time for something, I make something else. Yeah. There's like something else is coming, like the rodeo's coming now.
Yeah.
Before that, they always say, I keep telling them, like, next month when I ship cattle, we'll have time to do this. It doesn't happen. We just keep on doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But
no, I hear it. Life gets busy like that. I mean, I think everybody's in that boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it is crazy how busy just everything can get.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people need to take more time and a little bit of that self-care and do that kind of stuff. I like to be outdoors, like go hiking.
Yeah.
Just be in nature.
Yeah.
Went on a 4x4 trip at Crossbar Ranch in Oklahoma not too long ago, and that we rode around for 7 hours, and that was probably one of the best times I'd had.
Yeah, I bet that was
in a long
blast.
time. Just seeing all that different stuff and cruising around. It was a lot of fun.
That's my oldest boy. He built a 4-wheeler with the snorkel and all that, and him and his buddies go over there to the other side of Weatherford. There's like a mud park or something, okay. And they like to. And they seal the engine and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's a 4-wheeler. He said, yeah, but we like to ride them in the water. No, nothing sticking out of the water but the snorkel. I'm like, that don't make sense to me. Get a boat, kid. But he enjoys it, and I'm just proud he can do it.
Oh, that's awesome. So I grew up about half my life in Cleburne. In 6th grade, after 6th grade, we moved to Blanton.
I know where Blanton's at. Yeah, it's right around the corner from my house.
We were right in the middle between Covington and Blum. I went to school in Covington. That's where I graduated from. We had almost 11 acres out there, and we did cows, and they were pretty much like pets.
Yeah.
You only get a couple that you could throw out there, but we had, we raised goats. We did, I did FFA every year, so I did sheep, I did pigs, I did rabbits,
That's
I did
a lot
chickens,
of work.
I
That's
did
a lot
dairy
of work.
Cow.
Yeah.
All that different stuff. And ever since, my parents sold that place. They got divorced and sold that place. And I wanted to go back ever since. I didn't want to move out there in the first place. Like
right.
a city kid,
It was foreign at first, huh?
Yeah, I didn't. I told them, I was like, you're not going to make no cowboy out of me. And,
yeah.
It turns out they did. Well, kind of. I mean, I'm not like a cowboy, but I ended up falling in love with the country life and doing all that stuff. And I mean, me and my wife, that's what our end plan is. We want to buy some land and raise some cows, and have a garden and just kind of live like that and support other neighbors and
right.
And so it's really, really good to hear that this is still like a thing and people are still doing this and they're still fighting for it.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. Then that's what I've always said. Everybody that lives in Texas isn't a Texan, and if you're not here to preserve what Texas is about, then you're part of the problem.
I agree.
And I've started to see, I'm going to go there. The data centers are starting to come in. I might as well say it because you know where I'm at down there.
I know, man.
The data centers are trying to come into everywhere. I don't know what they're about. I don't really want them in our living space. I don't want them where we're trying to raise food. Mm-hmm. I don't want them where we're trying to raise cattle. And and have that country life. I mean, even right now. So we went to a commissioner's court meeting in Hill County a couple weeks ago to try to fight one of these it's really right across the street from my house is where they're wanting to put it. And it's in the middle of about 2,000 acres of corn and farmland. I mean, it seems ridiculous that you would want to take something like that in the country and build a electronic monster right in the middle of where you're trying to grow food. And, we've known that there are powers that be that aren't for the development of agriculture, that it's hard to control us cowboys and farmers and ranchers because we got a lot of common sense and we know what's right and we know what's right for people and animals in the country. It's just like that place where you went to go hike. Man, we're here to preserve that. We got to preserve our nature and our lifestyle. And, I think some people get the wrong impression that farmers and ranchers just want to take everything and, sure, I want to put one more cow on another piece of land right across the way there. But at the same time, I know, just like I said, I've had a real estate license since 2004, and I can boast that I've never developed. And I'd have to go back and look, but because I hated housing developments my whole life, because I knew if I sold a piece of land to a guy and he's going to cut it up and put houses on it, that I was cutting my own throat as far as raising beef. And I didn't want to look at it where I live. So it's such a hard thing to see that they just want to do these data centers and all this solar farm, and now close to Covington, all those windmills that I don't think would ever generate enough electricity with the wind to wipe out the carbon footprint that it costs to build that. And they've already said they can't even recycle the metal on those big blades, and you see the big piles of them where they just bury them underground. It's like, that was all just a government subsidy. Somebody made money. Yeah, that's it. It didn't produce anything. It's just a money scheme. I feel like the solar panels are that way, and it looks like the data centers are, because these guys are wanting to build those things like hotcakes.
Well, the whole solar panel shit, man, that drives me crazy when you're driving in the country and you see all this beautiful land, and then all of a sudden you got like 2 miles of just solar panels, like right there on the ground. Man, why don't we put those on top of the buildings that we got and parking lots that aren't covered? And there's so many other things that we could do to make sense. And I'm the type of guy that's like, you got to make it make sense to me for me to get behind it. And none of that makes sense to me.
No,
I mean, you're killing not just the grass out there, but you're killing wildlife. You know, it can't survive because all the stuff that grows and everything. It's you're destroying the ecosystem that's out there.
So I'll give you a little insight on. I figured out one time, a friend of mine told me, he said, there's a really cool deal with those, nobody likes the solar panels and stuff. He said, but we figured out that they pay a company to mow and weed eat under all of that stuff. He said, but they also have considered running sheep on those things. And I said, why would they want to do that? He said, they'll even pay people to run sheep underneath those solar panels. And he said, here's why. They've already got to pay a company to weed eat and mow that whole thing, and it's a big pain in the rear to get underneath all those solar panels. He said, but if they put the sheep out there, they'll graze it down to where it needs to be, and it looks really nice. And he said another thing too is that gives them the appearance to the public that they're working hand in hand with agriculture, and that it's not so detrimental. And I agreed with him just a little bit on that. And the thing is it's still proven. Like, if I want to run cows somewhere, I got to pay for it. And for them to pay someone in place of paying a mowing crew just lets you know how badly they need the good public relations to look like they're actually preserving our agriculture. But so, the water usage, whatever the chemicals or, whatever is put off by heated up electrical components in those data centers, I don't want any part of. And I think, we got an uphill battle to slow down. I don't know what that entails, but I'm for that.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And, with everything going on in the world today and politics and all that kind of stuff, I think starting local is real big.
Yeah.
Because if we can start here and then move up, I mean, that's probably the best thing we can do. But a lot of people just don't pay attention to these local politics.
Right.
We just had a mayor race here in Cleburne, and less than 1,500 people out of 38,000 people voted.
Wow.
I mean, how crazy is that? And I mean, to me, it's just a big disappointment.
Yeah.
And the fact that, and before this, we were kind of talking about, how sometimes we don't think our vote matters because it's two wings to the same machine over there. But I do think with locally, it does.
Yeah.
And, with the data centers and all that kind of stuff, there's that whole thing too. And we can vote locally, but then the state has their authority to kind of override that too. So again, that's where we're talking about where we got to move up.
Right.
And we got to get somehow, some way, get this money out of politics, because you get somebody in there and maybe they do want to do the right thing and they want to listen to what the people want and they want to do this, but then somebody comes in with a big bag of money.
Yeah.
And, all the other guys have taken the big bag of money and now they're looking at you and it's like, it's kind of like a criminal thing. It was like, well, if you're not in, then we got a problem.
Right.
And they can make your life not so great.
Yep.
And you get caught in this downward spiral of a system that we have. And, it's just kind of funny in these different things with government money that's out there, how they put so much bureaucracy on some things and then no bureaucracy on some other things.
Yeah.
So you got to have all this red tape and a lot of the contracts that you got to get and stuff like that too. Like if a contractor's getting this thing, they have to say that, hey, no, we didn't lobby, we didn't do this and we didn't do that. And you have to sign these certifications that you didn't do that. But then these politicians can vote and do all this and all that. And they're like, oh yeah, but they donated $100,000 or $500,000 to my campaign. And something's got to be done with that. And I don't know what the answer is. But I mean, I would love to start sitting down and thinking that, and what can we do to keep that kind of stuff from happening.
Yeah, that's what, I'm always trying to think strategically. And I think that part of that is skepticism of other people. Mm-hmm. I think, well, are they doing this? Do they mean this? Do they say this? And you see that a lot in politics and, in the presidential races and the governor races. It's like sometimes they say what you want to hear, but it has an alternate meaning. And they can say it to suffice what you think you need to hear, but it doesn't really mean what you think you're hearing. And so I'm always a skeptic on things like that. You always want to see the best in people, but you also get to see people's agendas in action, whether it's, in politics or anything else. Somebody tells you one thing but does another, or they make you a really good a promise about things, but when it comes down to their money involved and things change a little bit, they change their mind. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to be that guy that says, I'm going to go do this, whether it pays or not, because I said I was going to do it. I'm going to stick to my word, and I'm a big believer in that. Is then maybe that's, from growing up, maybe hanging on to someone's every word, like, hey, all right, I believe you. Mm-hmm. We're friends. Let's do this. What you say is what I believe. And then to figure out that they're not going to do that. Yeah. In the cowboy world, your word is your bond and your handshake, and I see a lot of guys that want to use that, but they don't do what they say. Mm-hmm. It's watered down. And anytime you get outside of that farming, ranching community, it's watered down even more. Mm-hmm. When you get into whether it be politics, construction, businesses, and things like that, it's all about someone's bottom line.
I know.
And they won't stand up. Not everyone is in that category, but a lot of people won't stand up when it causes their bottom line to change. Mm-hmm. And I always feel like if you're willing to stand up, whether it matters financially or not, in the long run, it's gonna be a positive thing in your life. I'm all for that. I told a guy one time, I was like, listen, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick to the plan. And if it fails, it fails. I can do without, but if I don't go through with what I had planned, I'll never know.
Yeah.
No,
I agree with that.
But you got to be, you got to take time and you got to study what you're doing. You got to plan. You got to, everybody has big dreams, but some of those big dreams you need to put into action and have some, at least some idea. I can't just say, I'll be 49 this year, and when I rode broncs, I weighed 165 pounds. I'm probably 219 now, pretty strong, but I'm not near as agile as I was. And I can't tell you today that I'm going to go with my boy Luke and go spur a bronc, because it's not going to happen. There's probably a lot more time and jogging and lifting and all that kind of stuff for months before I'm prepared to do that.
Yeah.
But the reality is understanding that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's how you progress in life, is understanding where you're at and where you need to go and what you need to put into it to get to that point.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's a big part about, being a man too, is when you say you're going to do something.
Yeah.
And you
go do it.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's part of, and integrity,
Yeah.
That's another big thing too. You touched on it earlier when you talked about like the government and not really kind of being able to control the cowboys and the farm life and stuff like that. And I think a big part of that is because we don't depend on them for anything.
Yeah.
What we need or what we want, we get it on our own. We're not
Right.
asking for handouts. We're not asking for this. We put in the work and we do that, and they don't like that.
No.
They like it when you eat out of their hand.
Yeah.
And it just seems where it's going now, and people are buying into it. And, I've been saying this too for a really long time. A government that feeds you is a government that can starve you.
Yeah, that's true.
And
ask our Native American friends.
Exactly. Yeah, big time, man. Big time. And, it's just terrible that it's kind of come that way. And I do think that we have some politicians out there that are trying to make a difference and stuff like that. But like I said, it's 1 out of 10.
There's some really good people that are always trying to do what's right. And with them, there's a whole herd behind them that are just out for, I don't know what they're out for, and that's hard to understand. But you find that in every lifestyle, every town, every city, whether it's a business or government or, whatever. You can identify the really good people doing really good things, and you can talk to somebody for just a few minutes and figure out who they are. I just wish that the government stuff has gotten so much bigger in any aspect. It takes up so much tax money. Everything costs more, but it seems like those that are representing us in government spaces, it's just growing. The money's growing, like you said. It's just hard to get somebody on your side that's going to do what's right, just to do what's right.
Yeah,
because it's a job. Did you do that because you want to do what's right for the people, or did you do that to have a career?
Yeah, you're right. And I think everybody is just thinking about their own bottom line these days instead of helping. And, that's one of the reasons why I kind of started this thing too, was to get people on that are trying to help and give them a voice, and just give regular people a voice too. I mean, I'm not just getting business owners or charity owners are on here too. I'm getting just people that are doing cool stuff. There's going to be a kid come on in June. He's starting to play music. He's 17 years old. He's really, really good. I'm going to have him on here,
Oh, that's awesome.
And let him talk about how he's been playing guitar growing up and singing and all that. And, it's for everybody. I didn't start this for me. I did it for y'all, because I'm just the idiot that can keep, bumping my gums together.
I'm pretty good at it too. I love to talk to people. I really do. I love to talk to good people.
Yeah, me too.
If I don't talk to you much, like if I shy away from you, it's because I don't, and I hate that. That's probably not the best way to do that. I'll be cordial to people, but if I like to talk to you, it's because I value you and I value who you are, because that's a bigger thing to me than, I've gotten to do a lot of TV and stuff like that. A friend of mine, actually, the retired now, Sheriff Bob Alford, which was a wonderful sheriff of Johnson County. He used to hire me and a friend of mine, Chad Eubank. We would go and do like Bob would do all these movies and TV stuff on the side, and he have us bring horses and cows, and he just did that kind of thing. So we got to do Dallas, the remake, for like 3 seasons. Me and Chad, which they had more stuff. I was just every once in a while I would go with them and stuff like that, and we do scenes in the backyard of the old Dallas house and stuff like that, But and we got to meet. What I'm getting at is we got to meet all the actors and work with the actors, and guys like Jesse Metcalf. Chad's teaching him how to ride a horse and handle cattle and all this kind of stuff. But I will say this: I was raised my whole life that every man got to stand up, put his pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think everybody is on level playing ground. In other words, it's really cool to meet those people. It's really cool to, go to a guy's house and been to the NFR and have him help you with your son. But, I don't so much get so starstruck over those people. But when you meet them, some of them have really great personalities and great character and are honest, just like, I don't care if you're a guy begging for money at the gas station or you're a superstar. You can talk to somebody for just a minute and figure out who they are and what they're really about. And are they, do they use their position for a positive nature for people, or do they, are they just, they just about themselves?
Yeah.
And it's easy to get about yourself. It feels good to have a little confidence about what you're doing and things like that. But it's really cool to see somebody that has that type of position that shares and gives back and acts like every other guy's the same as them.
Right.
And I love that. I love that in people. When I was picking up at rodeos and stuff like that, I really didn't want to. My dad was a pickup man for years, and I really hadn't considered being a pickup man. But when Luke was practicing, I started taking a horse over to this lady's house and told her she had all these bucking ponies and bucking horses. There wasn't many people to help. And I had picked up just a little bit. And she liked it. I came over there and helped. And I started picking up, started practicing and all that kind of thing. But that lady got a contract with Ride TV. So if you ever saw the Cowgirls TV show where those girls ride all the ranch broncs at rodeos and stuff like that, well, this lady got the contract to take the horses to that deal. So, her name's Melissa Slayton. Anyways, I was helping over there. And like I said, I try for kids. It doesn't matter. If somebody's getting on a bucking horse, I wanted to be there to help.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys make fun of those girls because some of them get bucked off, and they couldn't ride like a man. Well, of course they couldn't ride like a man. They don't have the physical ability. And I guess she saw that I was encouraging to those girls or the kids, my own kids riding there, and she gets this contract and she said, how would you like to take care of my bucking horses and haul them all over the United States? And I said, that'd be great. What are we doing? And she kind of said, okay, I got this contract to film at these rodeos and venues and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, that'd be really cool if I could pick up. And so those girls, for part of the TV show, they wanted a coach. And so they ended up hiring me to haul the bucking horses, be the pickup man, and be the coach for those girls on film practicing to ride bucking horses. So I got to haul bucking horses all over the United States. Like, we literally bucked horses at the PBR Velocity Tour in Portland, Maine. We probably bucked one of the very first bucking horses that ever, and it was not a men's event, but one of the first bucking horses that was ever bucked at a PBR event. So we're at like Window Rock, Arizona, and they're having I don't know if it was one of the regional Indian national finals rodeos there, and then the PBR Velocity Tour followed the next night. Like, they built the arena right inside the arena, the outdoor arena in Window Rock Indian Reservation. So the first one of those I get to go to we're going to buck these 6 bucking horses for ranch broncs in the intermission of the PBR Velocity. And this boy Tate from Utah, which I called the Boy Wonder because he's only 18 years old, and it was a phenomenal pickup man. I got to pick up with him and Derek Begay. Derek Begay is one of the handiest Navajo men there is on the planet, and has been to the NFR roping, drags bulls for the PBR all over the place. And this is like one of the first guys I get to pick up with. And everybody that knows rodeo, or they look up to Derek Begay. And he's one of those guys that I'm saying has won all kinds of stuff, been everywhere, shows up at the NFR in an old rusted up trailer that he built at the house. You know, he's that guy.
Yeah.
And smokes them. That's the best part. Like he's winning rounds in the roping, you know, and he pulls up in a rusty old trailer. But the funnest thing about that is his personality was this. We got done bucking those horses that one night, and I rode up to him because he's all smiles all the time. I said, Derek, thank you for picking up with me. Like that was like a milestone for me. I got to pick up with Derek Begay because I was starstruck about that guy because he's awesome. Mm-hmm. He's not like Hollywood, got a lot of money. That dude can ride, rope, shoot, and fight. He's the winner of the game, you know. And he goes, oh no, thank you. He said, I love picking up bucking horses. I'm like, God, that guy just like laid it down. Like he had as much fun with me as I did with him, you know. And he's top dog over there. So that was a great day. He was one of those kind of guys that had a great personality and was fair and had great character. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, I got to pick up with quite a few guys like that over the years.
Yeah.
And usually those guys are the best, and they're usually pretty good Christian guys. You'll find pickup men are either about themselves or they're just like that guy. They got broad confidence that is built over just being a man, you know, and I always like those guys. But
you know, I got a cousin that's a pickup man. His name's Garrett Underwood. Do you know him?
I know Garrett, and he's one of those guys.
Yeah, that's my cousin, man.
Yeah.
I reached out to him not too long ago, and he said next time he comes into town, he's going to come.
That'd be awesome.
And talk. And I can't wait because, you know, he's always so busy now, so I don't get to see him at the family stuff.
Yeah,
because they're always so busy.
He's always at a rodeo.
Yeah, and so. I really hope he gets to come on here because it's been a couple of years since I got to talk to him.
No,
I really can't wait.
He is a great guy. He's as good of a bullfighter as he is a pickup man. You could put him anywhere in any situation in that arena, and he's handy at it.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of the videos on Facebook, man. It's very entertaining.
I don't think you could ever find anybody that would say any different. And as straight up guys, they come.
Man, I remember when he was a little kid too. Like, he's always been that way.
Yeah,
he's always been, you know, a little bit full of piss and vinegar. You know what I'm saying? Bet. Getting out there. You know, doing all the button busted and all that stuff. It was fun watching them, you know, grow up. And man, God, he was tough as nails since the beginning.
That's the one thing I've thought about. You know, there's been so many pickup men from Cleburne, Texas. You know, Al Garrett might have been from Rio, and you know, Preston Johnson, he was Burness's grandson. He's a pickup man, and you know, it's Skeet Abbott from Rio Vista. Like, there's a bunch of us around here that are pickup men, and those guys are still traveling. They're going all over the place, pro rodeos and everything. And it would be really cool, which most of us, Garrett might have been the only one that hasn't picked up at Cleburne that I know of out of all, you know, all of us that were raised around here. I got to pick up one year, I guess that was last year before, you know, Burness Johnson passed away. And I pretty well grew up in Burness's tack truck. You know, my dad was his pickup man for near the entire stint that he had his pro rodeo. And so that was kind of a nice deal that the sheriff's posse had a little invitation type deal for. So Burness's son David and Bernie J, both of those picked up with my dad. So some years it was David and David. They were picking up at the rodeo there. And then sometimes it was David, Bernie, what have you. But so David Johnson, David Merrill, Preston Johnson, Jack Merrill, all four of us got to do that dedication deal for Burness. And then me and Preston picked up like our dads did at the rodeo there. And that was a really cool deal. And like I said, I hadn't picked up at Cleveland before. I've been all over the place everywhere else. But I told Preston, I said, after this last night, I said, I got to pick up you in this arena. I said, I don't care if I pick up anywhere else. And it was just like, that was just kind of a nostalgic type deal that we got to do. And I won't ever forget it. But
oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So you talked about doing like meeting, movie stars and doing the filming and stuff like that. So with Taylor Sheridan being around the area, have you been able to meet him or work with him or anything like that?
No, but my cousin is. Trent Elizondo is a super handy cowboy that day works, and he works on ranches all over the place and goes and ropes cattle and stuff like that. And I tell him, I said, listen, I'm too old and gray-headed and fat to be on Taylor Sheridan. He needs all these slim boys that look like models, that are superstars to be. But, I haven't got in on any of that, but I'm sure Proud Trent is, because he's had a lot of fun with it. They've paid him real good, and, they've handled cattle and scenes and done stunts. And, Cody Brown, he's over there at Godly. He's done a bunch of that too with those guys. And actually, Taylor Sheridan's rented the sheriff's posse they would have their whole crew in there, all their trailers, all that stuff, and donated or paid rent to rent the whole place just so they would have a good central location while they were filming in Rio or out in Goat Neck or wherever they've been. That's been kind of cool. But there's some kind of cool stuff about some of his shows. Some of it's kind of corny, it's not really for real, but I guess it couldn't be too real. It'd be boring, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they got to keep us all entertained.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I think it's really cool what they do too, and they come, to the areas, like, and they go and they eat at like just hole in the wall local restaurants and stuff. And I was talking to my wife about this. I was like, I think that that's so cool, because when they hear that they're filming there, people are going to go to every local restaurant they want to go to for maybe a chance to see these guys,
right?
And so it's
helps the business,
helps
sure.
those little businesses, instead of going to a Chili's or an Applebee's, you know what I mean?
Right.
I really like that. I really like because when I travel, I'm not pulling into a Chili's or a fast food restaurant. I'm gonna go to a gas station and be like, hey, where's the best place to eat around here?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking chain. I mean, I want a hole in the wall.
Yeah, you're right. That's
place
good
to go eat and try something new and support those little businesses that are like that, because they're all unique in their own little way. If you go to Chili's here in Cleveland and you go to New York or something like that and eat at a Chili's there, it's the same.
Yeah,
it all comes in a bag. Everything tastes the same.
Right.
You know what you're getting, and that's not fun.
No, and that kind of goes along with what we were talking about locally getting together, to raise beef and our farming and things like that. Those guys will never use our products. Mm-hmm. Some of these hole in the wall guys will. I mean, just say, I don't feed beef out. I tried that a little bit, and it's too much trouble for the operation that we have. But there are local guys here that are farm to table, and they raise them, they feed them out, and they sell them to the public. It would be really great if we figured out how to do that with our local restaurants and things like that. That way, it made it all worthwhile. All the fighting and stuff like that to hold off data centers and development of our ranch and farmland and stuff like that. If we could figure out how to locally farm and ranch, locally consume.
Oh, for sure.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I got a buddy here in town. His name's Jared Rockhold with Rockhold Cattle and Construction, and he's starting a farm to table. It's like kind of like a Wagyu hybrid. It's about 75-25 fat to meat ratio, and he's going to be doing supplying all the meat for a locally owned restaurant here in town when it's finished.
That's awesome.
Putt. So all the steaks, all the hamburgers, all
so it's happening.
So it is happening.
Yeah.
Another guy that I know that he lives in Blum too, Charles Whitfield. You probably know him.
Yeah, Charles is my buddy. He was at my house right before I left.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on too. He's been busy, but trying to get him on here too to talk about, because I know that he does farm to table as well, and he does. They have like elk hunting and stuff out there.
Yeah, Charles does it all. He's a one-stop shop.
Man, he's a jack. He's always got his hand in something.
He has all construction, farming, elk hunting, and raising cattle, feeding out beef. I mean, he's doing it all. Flying planes. You just never know. But Charles is also, he's a member of the Sheriff's Posse. Since I'm talking about the rodeo all day here, but part of that new road I'm talking about, Charles, he sent in his mulchers and he cleared the way to build that road.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So he donated in on that, even though he's already a member. I think I'm going to have to figure out how to pay his dues for him for a couple of years for his time, but something like that. Or maybe he doesn't have to work so many nights in the hamburger stand at the concession stand. But
right.
But yeah, Charles is doing good stuff down there. And I'm trying to think. We kind of argue back and forth about steaks, but he fed me one a while back that was pretty dang good. Like he's done the breeding and he has ideas with this. Red Angus, some Wagyu, and Charolais. There's kind of a Charolais base, for carcass size and things like that. And he's been breeding and mixing and trying to figure out, how he can get that marbling in this big old carcass of a Charolais type frame. Yeah. And he's doing it, and his steak's really great.
Man, yeah, I need to try some. Every time I see him post stuff that he's got stuff for sale, I always post it on Facebook. I do that with all sorts of business owners here in town. But I need to clear out my garage and get a bigger deep freeze in there, because I would like to buy like half a cow, for the year and do that from a farm, whether it be Charles or Jared or somebody. Yeah. But I would like to do that because I think it'd make it a lot easier, because you just never know what you're getting when you go to the grocery store. You don't know where that stuff came from.
So there you go, Charles. If you watch the podcast, we plugged you, buddy. You gotta come in here and talk for a while. This might be really great. Like we get a few of us in here really cutting up. That would be a blast.
I've got more setups, so I can bring more people in. Yeah. Oh, it'll be fun, man. With this thing too, I plan on doing like some watch parties in here. We can watch the fights, watch the rodeo, watch football games. That'd be great. My son's in College Station. He's fixing to start his senior year.
Oh boy!
So we're about to buy a ring.
All right.
He's going for civil engineering. But
awesome.
When politics started getting into football, I was real big into football. Never missed a game, and I hadn't watched anything besides the Super Bowl in like 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
Except for now, Aggie football.
Right. Yeah.
We've been to a few games, and that's
a blast, huh?
Wild.
Man, I always used to love watching college ball instead of NFL.
Man, going to a live one.
Yeah.
Oh, man, especially at the Kyle Field there.
Yeah.
The energy is insane. It is so insane. There's so many people because it's one of the biggest stadiums. I think it's the second biggest college stadium that's out there.
Wow.
And, I mean, it gets loud, man. Yeah. And those, all the students don't sit. They stand the entire game. And they're hooping and hollering, and it is just so much fun. We've had a good time going down there and going to some football games and stuff. It's expensive. We went down there, and I got a hotel room for the weekend. I had to get 2 nights, and it was like $600 for 2 nights to stay in this really shitty Super 8 hotel.
Yeah, I guess so.
And you can't go eat anywhere because everything's packed. I mean, you can't even go to fast food.
Yeah.
It's so packed because there's just so many people in that area. But I've learned, pack some food and cook and go down there and do it that way. But man, it's a lot of fun.
I haven't. My boys, we've always homeschooled, and Luke, he had never even probably finished watching a whole football game on TV, because it's always been horses and cows and stuff like that. And if they have an interest, I'm always interested in it, and we'll try to support it, help, whatever. Luke, he played with the Blum Youth League one year, and his first year. And I got to tell this is so funny, but I made him. I told him, I said, you got to be really aggressive, which he doesn't have any problem with that, anyways. I said, you really got to hit hard. I said, you hit them hard, because he's a little guy. Yeah. I said, you got to come at it, boy. I said, put that shoulder in that face mask and you got to lay somebody out. Well, I had him. I told him. I said, "You're gonna watch Adam Sandler's Waterboy." I said, "That is." I said, You're looking for that kind of energy, when you play football." And we joked about it and everything. But his first game, I got to help coach, and it's 6-man. Blum is 6-man, and I love it. I love watching 6-man. But and that's what my uncle's a coach of 6-man out in Fort Davis, and I told him, he had a receiver come really wide over there, and he's playing a like a defensive back, like a linebacker type position, and I said, "Luke, move out here." I said, "That's your guy." Well, we hadn't had a whole lot of talk. I said, "You stay on him. That's your guy." And I don't know if he heard all of it or whatever, but his interpretation of it was, what's coming. They hike the ball. He lays this kid out right in the middle of the field, right there. You could hear it all the way, like the whole field just. They just went silent. Oh man! I was like, okay, let's talk about pass coverage. I said, we got to talk about pass coverage. I said, that's your guy. That's your guy to cover, not to smother. He lays him out, and he had a lot of fun playing football. He made a lot of, like his very first year, he made a lot of tackles, ran the ball a bunch, and it was a blast. But he likes horses and cows better.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, but we love, like, all the community kids around Blum that play 6-man football. They've got an awesome field there, and we enjoy just going to watch their home games. Oh, yeah. And that's only 3 miles from my house. Mm-hmm. We do all the things we do with cows and horses and everything, and it's like, I'm going to get a shower, and I'm going to load up. I'm going to go watch those games, because there's a bunch of those guys that I grew up with that are either part of the school or their kids are playing or whatever, and we all have a hoot. I love watching the 6-man games. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you can see some really good hits too.
Oh boy,
a little more spread out.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot more contact with, like you said, if you're going to play 6-man football, you better come with your guns and be able to have some wind and run the whole time, because there's a lot of running.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, so I enjoy that a bunch, but.
Yeah, growing up at Covington, we didn't have a lot of winning games. we got our asses kicked most of the time, but I enjoyed playing all through high school and played. I guess I started my 8th grade year is when I started playing, and I'd never seen 6-man before, except for maybe once or twice when I was a kid. Yeah, to a 6-man. My dad took me to a 6-man game, and I was just like, "This is wild." Yeah, it's a lot different than. Right, seeing all those other guys on the field,
and I played at Rio, from the time I was in junior high up through high school and stuff like that. And Rio had a lot of winning teams, through the years that I went to school there. And them guys were animals. I played football with some guys that were absolute animals on the field, off the field, in life. Didn't matter what. It was wild. So there's got to be a little bit of. You got to be a little bit feral to survive, whether you're going to rodeo or you're going to play football or whatever. You got to either be real hard-headed, real tough, or, a super athlete. And, rodeo's full of those. So is football. And I love to watch it. It doesn't matter whether it's a guy riding a saddle bronc or a kid making a hit like that. I'm all for it. I love to see kids just put in everything they got. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and that's what I like about rodeo too, man. These guys, they'll go in there and they'll ride hurt.
Yep.
Broken bones. All of it. They're just tough as nails, and they're different human beings. Yeah. And so I love watching fighting too, like UFC and,
Me too.
And all that stuff. Like I love that, and I love the politics that are involved in that too, because Dana White's the kind of guy that's like, if you don't like it, watch on Saturday. He's gonna get hit in the face.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Who cares?
That's what my oldest boy, he wanted to do Taekwondo when I'm talking about 3-4 years old. Uh-huh. And back then we lived down there south of the dam at Whitney, and there was a guy, Danny Smith, a buddy of mine, that had a dojo there in Whitney. Actually, they were in Hillsborough for a minute, but he moved it to Whitney. But I took Levi, and he's like, yeah, he's a little bitty guy. He said, and maybe he was just lying to me to get me to join too, but he said, he's so small, probably needs dad out there with him. And if you'll come, I'll take him as a student. I said, so you mean you want me to do it with him? He said, yeah, that'd be great. I was like, okay. So I signed up for Taekwondo. Back then, again, I was a lot lighter weight, but I had a blast with that. And we got to go to some meets and stuff like that. And Levi did really good at some of those meets and everything. And then, we were going to Alaska for a long time, back and forth, and never stayed in it. But then we came back, and Jason Jones here in town, he's got that dojo, and I loved it, doing the MMA with that guy. And my boys both had a blast for quite some time. Actually, our pastor, he did it till he got a black belt. So me and him.
Was that Wayne?
Wade Yarbrough.
Yep.
Yeah, he
was my youth director.
Yeah, there you go.
When I grew up, yeah.
That guy was a Marine, served in a couple tours, was guarding nuclear warheads and stuff like that. Me and him been buddies for a long time, and I have a lot of respect, like I said, for the military and anybody that's joined the service and done their time to try to protect us, and I love that. And I got to box with him and do MMA with him. I wasn't sure who was going to kill who because Wade's pretty stout.
Yeah, I've sparred with him a few times.
You did? Yeah, he's pretty stout. The only thing I had going for me is I was a little quicker. I could get out of one of those big old right hands, But that's a lot of fun. Everybody needs to do stuff like that. It's good for you.
Yeah, that's the school I go to. I haven't been in a minute. I'm kind of trying to get past an injury. I messed this whole side of my body up doing something. I don't know. I pulled something really, really deep, and I just can't get it straightened out. But I kind of went back and forth and did the MMA stuff, and then they brought in a guy that's doing jiu-jitsu up there, and so I started that. I've always kind of wanted to get into the jiu-jitsu thing, and so I started that, and I'd hurt myself before a little bit, and then doing that, I really hurt myself, and I'm trying to go back. I probably just need to start going back and drilling, just because I miss everybody. I still try to go to their competitions and stuff, and there's like 3 people that in August they're gonna have their first professional jiu-jitsu match.
Oh, that's cool.
And going to that, and I love supporting them, and I love Jason. Jason's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Local cop here in town too.
Yeah.
He's real big, military supporter as well.
Yeah. We were going before he was actually a police officer. Mm-hmm. And what better to make a police officer than a guy like that, Not just that he has the ability to handle whatever comes at him, but a guy that thinks in just and fairness and honesty and that kind of thing.
Wants to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And we need more police officers like that.
Yeah, you bet.
We really do.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, he's a great guy. He does all sorts of kind of training too. Like he does like red dot training and stuff like that. And then he does competitive trainings, I think, at the gym too there. But yeah, he's a great guy. I'd love to have him come on too.
That would be all right.
He grew up, competing and doing all that stuff and won lots of trophies and stuff like that. So I bet he's got some stories. And being a police officer, I'm sure he's got some really great stories with that too.
Yeah, I don't know if he can tell you all of them. But there's probably some good ones in there. But yeah,
he's a great guy, man. I love him. My wife went to school with him too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Emily Dolgner, do you know her?
Yep.
That's my wife. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, she comes up here. I'm trying to get her to come up and start producing for me.
Oh, that would be
just
good.
Listen and make sure everything sounds good and all that stuff.
Keep it in shape.
Yeah, and she said I got to get the air fixed in here. Right now I just got that window unit and I can't run it during the podcast. Sometimes it gets pretty hot up here. I'm not gonna lie.
Then when we came in here, it sounded like a hotel room or something. That one boiling right there. It works really great, but it's pretty noisy. But
yeah, for sure. Oh man, what else you got? You got anything else you want to talk about here?
Man, I don't know. I've got lots of crazy stories from over the years. I don't know if some of it I should tell on here, but I think I'm really interested in a podcast where there's a few of us guys that know each other that can really cut up and come up with stuff and tell stories.
For sure.
We have to have some maybe you have to have some limits on some of this stuff, but no, I think this podcast is a really great deal. I'm hoping that what I really wanted to do besides this is take and give a copy of this to our media team for the rodeo and take some of the stuff that we were talking about, for the rodeo and turn it into little commercials. And, everybody helping each other. Not that I have enough popularity to grow your podcast, but the amount of views that they're getting on our Sheriff's Posse Facebook page now, that the more people see that, and then they see that it's connected to your podcast, well, maybe they'll start watching your podcast and grow you at the same time.
For sure, man. I mean, like I said, I started this thing, and it's all just my own money. I've gotten lots of support from a lot of people. Blake has allowed me to set up here, and he's not charging me any rent or anything, and which is good because I'm not making any money off this.
Yeah,
it's just costing me a lot of money right now.
Right.
But it's okay. It's fun to do, and I love talking and meeting new people.
Yeah.
And so I want to keep on doing it.
You should. This is a cool deal. What you're doing.
I like it. We got some ideas to make this look a little nicer, make it a little bit more comfortable, and I want to do some good things. Like there's a lady that she does like property tax stuff, and she's got a 501(c), and we're going to be doing like a live Facebook live thing with her, and it's like a workshop on how to contest your property taxes.
All right.
And
everybody needs to know how to do that.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
So and I love it. Just little things like that, and I've had Cassie Moore on here, and she, doing the Re-Inspired thing, helping young ladies out that just don't have anywhere to go and need help, and then she's got an uncle or a cousin, something like that lives in Rio Vista and kind of does that too with young boys, and he's got a ranch out there. And
you're talking about Steve Stone?
I believe that's who.
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine, and that is a good. We would sometimes go to. He has a Bible study on Tuesday mornings at 6:30. They built a chapel out there for the kids and stuff, but guys will go out there at 6:30 and have Bible study in the mornings. But all in all, whether it's the boys that live there, or wherever Steve's at, he's serving the community. I was fixing to say, when you were talking about all this, I was like, man, I bet Steve would be great to come in here and talk to you. Another one, Zach Watson. Do you know Zach Watson?
I do not.
He's a buddy of mine that's doing great things. I can give you a whole list of
sure.
guys that need to talk, and women too.
And this is how I'm, getting people on. I, met you. Somebody just recommended you, and I reached out, and that's all I'm doing. And I try not to be too persistent. What I mean? I know people are busy, and I don't want to be the annoying person. Just say, hey, get on here. Come on my show or whatever. But again, it's not really about me. It's just I just want to get the message out and just sit down and have a great conversation.
Yeah.
And my wife knows how good a time I'm having with this. So I mean, it's not completely selfless, but because I go home and I'm amped.
Yeah. That's good.
I try to tell her about everything that we talked about and how excited I am, and I mean it is what it is, and I'm putting everything that I possibly. My heart's definitely into it, and when I started, it's like I couldn't stop, and it's getting easier now. I mean, so you're my 11th guest, but man, I'd be shaking, go and hit that upload button, and I know when it actually goes,
see what happens,
and I'm like, oh man, because everybody's a keyboard warrior these days, everything pisses everybody off, and I'm just kind of posting and ghosting, and I try to engage with the people that say thank you and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm trying not to listen to the comments too much, just because I don't want it to discourage me.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have that, and that's something you have to overcome in anything that you do. And I've had to do that. I call them naysayers. I say I'm going to do this, and they, it's funny because horses neigh, but all the naysayers, I just look at it like that's just somebody just trying to make themselves feel better by saying what you're doing is not right or not good enough, or you didn't do it the way they would do it. And I'm like, that's good. But again, I wake up and I pull my pants on one leg at a time. Unless somebody jumps off the bed and drops in them, like that. I'm just a guy doing whatever I want to every day, and that's how I'm going to be.
And that's awesome. And one of these days, I'll be there. I was fortunate to start a job really young, and I've got about 8 years left where I'm eligible to check out and kind of, I guess, figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. You know what I mean?
I ask people that. My boys, they get tired of that. Oh, we'll meet somebody new, and I'm just kidding. I just try to break the ice, and I'll say, "What are you going to be when you grow up?" And my offering is, I don't really know yet. I'm getting there, but I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up. But just the fact that you're putting it out there and what you're doing here, you are getting to do what you want to do.
Yeah,
and that's a cool thing. It's a good way to be.
Yeah.
We only got one life, and it's God-given minutes. And you get past a certain age, you start trying to realize how many minutes there might be left. Like, I made it this far. Like, I've done so many stupid things, had accidents, horse accidents. I'm going to say this on here because I think the statute of limitations is gone but I roped and tied down a bear cub one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was a wild deal. And I'm not going to say where, but I was somewhere where there was a lot of kids that could have gotten bitten or hurt or whatever, and this big old bear cub, he's about like this. He's in there, digging in trash cans and stuff like that. And eventually he's going to get into a position where he doesn't need to be where kids are.
Yeah.
And where I was, the Fish and Game said, just if you shoot him, just leave him lay. Well, that's not good for kids either, and I don't like to be wasteful. Mm-hmm. So when the first time I was in this place, I said, I'd love to rope a bear, and they laughed at me. I was like, you don't know where I come from, or what we've done our whole lives. I said, it'd really be great to rope a bear. Well, after a year or so, they realized after a while who I was and what I was about. And guy calls me and says, "Man, that bear won't leave." He said, "That bear cub will not leave." He said, "So if you want to rope a bear, there you go. Chance. Now's your chance." He said, "It's either shoot him or rope him." And I thought, okay, let's do it. I didn't even have a horse saddled. I was in a pickup. And I was just like ecstatic. I'm like, here I go, I got to see this bear up close. And it was a big bear cub. And I pull this rope out from the back of the truck, and I start walking to him on foot. And he's in all these trees and stuff. And he looked up at me like, and I guess bears don't see that good. He looks up at me, and it's like, he's down there eating or whatever. And I start walking to him. And then finally he kind of wins me and sees like, oh, this guy's walking at me. So he just starts kind of walking through these trees, walking away from me. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to get a little closer. Like, I'm contemplating this whole deal right now. I said it, and I remember what I said. You say it, you got to go do it. So here I am walking through these trees, and I get kind of close to him, and he hops up a tree. He climbs way up that tree. I thought, well, that's over with. He's not come down. I thought, I'm just going to try something. I hide behind a tree, like 20 foot from his tree. And it took about 30 seconds, and he comes down the tree, and he puts 1 foot on the ground, and I hang it on his neck like this. I think, I got a bear roped. And he starts running around like this, And finally, he runs up another tree scared. So I tied that thing off to a tree. I'm like, okay, well, I got him caught now. But I'm not going to go to him with just one rope because it's just like roping a bull. Yeah. It'd be better if somebody had another one, you get him stretched out, and that way you can tie him down or whatever. Anyways, so I get another rope, and he comes down from that tree, and I rope his feet. I heel him like this, and I hand this rope to this guy, and I said, do not let go. Whatever you do, do not let go of this rope. And he says, okay. So I get a tie rope, and I go up there, and I hang it on 1 foot, and he's trying to claw me and bite me and all this stuff. And I hang it on another foot, and I get 3 legs tied together, not like you tie calf, not like that. I tie them individual so they can't just wallow out. Mm-hmm. And so I thought this was the most humane thing that I could do. I was going to end his life with a gun, or I'm going to rope him and I'm going to transport him.
Move him, yeah.
So I get a tarp, and I roll him up in this tarp. and I put him in this wagon, and I drive him to the end, like 2 miles away from all these kids. And then I got to untie the bear.
Yeah, so the hard part.
Yeah, so I unroll him, and he starts sticking a leg out. So I just start untying him like I'm untying a calf on the ground. Mm-hmm. And I step out of there, and I just pull the tarp out from under him, and he jumps out of that wagon behind this tractor, and he just starts running down the trail like, I'm never going to see you guys again. So I don't know whether I thought I did what was right. I was trying to save his life, but I was also trying to keep him away from kids and whatnot. But anyways, that was the rope and the bear.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
Yeah, it was. It took me about 30 minutes for my blood pressure to go back down. It was pretty wild there for a minute. It did. And the next guy asked me, he's like, where was his mama? And I didn't even consider that. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that she kicked him out of the nest or whatever and said, you got to go make a life. And he found that trash can.
Yeah, thank goodness that mama wasn't around.
Yeah.
It could have been bad.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, that's a fun time there.
Yeah.
Man, roping a bear.
Yeah.
Man, that's a badge.
Yeah.
You need a badge for that.
Yeah, I've roped lots of stuff. I roped rattlesnakes with hay string. Actually, with Charles Whitfield one time. We were going down a back road down by Bob Wilfong's house, and there's this humongous rattlesnake in the middle of the road. And Charles actually would catch them, and he had a couple in an aquarium at one time to look at or whatever. Anyways, this was a big rattlesnake, and we're in Charles's truck. We're going down the road, and he said, "I don't have anything. I don't have a tow sack. I don't have what are we going to put that thing in?" And I looked in there, and there was hay string all hanging out of the back of his truck. I said, "Listen, you get a stick." And you keep him busy looking at you, and I'm going to rope that rattlesnake. And anyways, I get me a loop in this hay string, and he's looking away from me at Charles, and he's mad, and he's standing up like that. And I roped that rattlesnake, and Charles said, what are we going to do now? I said, we're going to put him in the back of your truck. He's, oh, my God, okay. So he gets a stick, and I'm walking down the road, and he's pushing this rattlesnake along to get him up in the truck. And we set him up in the truck. And I literally tied him off in the truck just for a minute till we go down the road. And to get to my friend's house. So we get to my friend's house, and, we're just looking for a bucket to put him in so you can transport him, whatever. And the snake stayed, I didn't have it tied on him. I just, had a little loop around his neck. And he didn't leave. He was still in there with the hay string. And I thought, man, this is going to be funny. And, my friend is Andy McPherson. I don't know if you know Andy or not. He's a wild man. We've been friends since we were little bitty kids. But anyways, we pull up the house, and I slide over where there's just enough room for him to look in the bed of the truck right where that rattlesnake's tied. And I slide over, and I said, Andrew, you got to come see this. Come look at this. And he comes up to the truck, and he leans over there, and that rattlesnake's like eyeball to eyeball with it. Now I got him tied back where he can't strike him. He just about falls out. I thought he was going to kill me over that deal. But we put him in a bucket, all safe and sound. And I think that rattlesnake might have been in captivity until he was dead, and then they stuffed him, and he is in the McGregor real estate office in Hillsborough, Texas.
Really?
He's a big son of a gun. I mean, he's like this big around.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. How many
I don't know how many. I don't remember how many buttons he had on him. There was a bunch, but
yeah.
Anyways,
they had So I had a buddy growing up that we were good friends. His name's Mike Houston. I don't know if you know who he is.
I don't know.
He went to Rio Vista and Covington.
Has he got the fishing guide service?
Yeah. So I grew up with him. Me and him were really good friends. I couldn't take him anywhere with that. If he saw a snake, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulled his hat off, come over there, grab a stick, hold it down. We were walking around the river one time at the Brazos, and people were like, hey, that's a wormosket. And he's like, yeah, I know. He was like, those are the only fun ones to pick up. That's what really gets your adrenaline going.
Yeah.
But man, I remember for all the times of us going to the river and him catching all these snakes, I went and bought a first aid kit and a snake bite kit.
Bet so.
Kept it in the truck. I was like, man, we're hours away from anywhere. If you get bit from doing this stupid shit.
Yeah.
I don't. Something.
I'm not I don't like snakes in my personal space, but I can handle them. Move them out of the way, whatever, pick them up, stuff like that with a stick. But I'm not going to play with snakes. Yeah, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I'm not that type of person either. Yeah. That's a little too close to comfort.
Yeah. Because I'll fumble and make a mistake.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, I'm going to do something stupid. Yeah, for sure. Man, I had a good time to grow up with him. we got some stories.
Yeah, I bet so.
And man, him going out fishing with him, oh golly, it's so much fun. He talks about all the stories because all those people that come on there and fish and they're telling their stories and stuff like that. I was like, that's a cool freaking job, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know he doesn't do it full time anymore. He still just kind of does it here and there when he can, but it's a lot of fun. It's Houston Guide Services out there. Anybody, if you can get a trip with him, he's going to get you some fish. I
true.
promise that. He's good at what he does.
That's
have you been out
sure.
fishing with him?
I have not. Maybe I need to. My oldest boy, he loves fishing. So, and he actually will go spear fishing in Lake Whitney. My oldest will.
That's fun.
For the buffaloes or whatever, the grass carp. Everybody goes bow fishing for grass carp to clean them out of there. He goes underwater and shoots them, and he'll bring one up, and it's just like, it's amazing to watch him do it.
That's super cool. Yeah, I've always wanted to do bow fishing. I got a bow and everything that I want to get set up for bow fishing. Just I need more time.
It's a blast.
I need more time and do more of that kind of stuff. I'm really trying to put more effort in getting out there in nature and maybe go hunting and all that kind of stuff. And I mean hunting as in like go backpacking.
Yeah, you bet.
Not sitting at a feeder, I mean, actually go hunt.
That's me the same way. I'd like to take horses up in the mountains and stuff like that and just kind of be for a little while. Here I say I'd changed my whole life to spend more time with my kids and do things that were right and got out of debt and all that. And, like I said, the other day said, okay, Dad, it's kind of time to start doing some fun stuff again.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm kind of the same way, I take a lot of time and a lot of pride in, my dad used to say, you'd fix stuff till you break it. But I really like to find the breaking point or the best possible scenario in what I'm working on. Mm-hmm. So that takes, I take on a lot of things that have a lot of hard points.
Yeah.
And sometimes that everybody doesn't joy for that, or you to be the person to identify those problems and want to change them and fix them and stuff like that. And it takes a lot of time when like our cattle stuff, I'm always trying to, and you have to make it make money. You have to find where the efficiency points are. And
yeah, you're a professional problem solver.
Yes, I try to do that a lot. And I wish I could solve all my problems. But the thing is when I zero in on something like that, I'm working towards it until we come up with the best avenue to operate in, I guess is what I'd say. And I've taken on a lot of those, whether they were mine or somebody else's, and that takes up a lot of time. And that's what I'm saying is I wouldn't call it dwelling on it, but you make sure that did I make the right move? Did I, you second check and you do the math a few times before you follow through or finish up. So, and I honestly feel like we've kind of created a program with our cattle that it's almost like you just do this. You can't read the market every day. I mean, I look at it daily, but you can't know what it's going to do out in the future. But you just plan for the worst and hope for the best, and you just stick to what works. And with a little bit of micro changes with the times, you can do pretty good. Oh, yeah. Especially if you don't spend it all. Yeah. That's the worst part. Just don't spend it all.
That's the big thing, yeah. No, I agree with that. All right, man. Well, the rodeo is June 10th, right?
June 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. The gates open around 6:30. There'll start to be some things happening in the arena about 7:40-ish, 7:30-ish. So, like I said, we have all those vendors. So I wish people would come early and do their shopping, find their seats, go get a posse burger. We have a booth to buy beer and margaritas and Coca-Colas and candy, and you can get anything that you want for the rodeo. We're getting help from Heather's in Rio. I don't know if you guys ever eat at Heather's.
I've not eaten there yet, but I've heard about it.
It's amazing. They make good food, and again, I grew up with Heather and Brad, her husband, and it's great to be able to go to your hometown and eat in a place like that and see all your friends. And gosh, we all cut up in there, and you see people you went to school with, and it's not just the place to go, but it's worth going because the food is great. Not just trying to plug them, but Heather is handling the alcohol sales and things like that. So, you just come in at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and there's going to be pony rides. That's the one thing. Steve's daughter is going to bring her little pony wheel, so all the kids can come and get on ponies and ride. And
That's
then
awesome.
There's going to be like hat booths and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening before the rodeo ever kicks off. And like I said, we're trying to add some really cool stuff to the rodeo and put on a production that's exciting.
I love that.
Exciting for people coming to watch. Exciting for, gosh, I wish I could go through all the sponsor lists. There's 2 pages of sponsors that some of them have been helping with that rodeo for 30 plus years, that have businesses in town. So it's a handshake deal amongst everybody, fans and business owners and local community. And like I said, we're trying to provide good stuff. And, we donate a lot of things to other organizations and for kids. And, I know y'all had Shanna from Shine in here, and Wednesday night is free night. You can bring canned good items and get in the rodeo free. We kind of figured that's giving back to the community and giving back to those that need it. And we figure everybody's going to buy burgers and drinks, and it takes a lot of money to put that rodeo on. But that one night can be a good cause. And like I told you, we're trying to do things for cancer kids and everybody else. It's like we'd love for everybody to put their best foot forward and join us and help, because that facility isn't just for that rodeo. We have a ranch rodeo in October, and gosh, all the kids from all over the county do their county show in there, and it's a great place that does good things for people, and that's how I look at it.
I love it. I love that, the bringing the community together.
Yeah.
And that's part of my goal too, is just, we all need to come together. There's just so much hate in the world today. And like I said, with the social media, everybody wants to get on there and talk and this and do that. And it's not real. Nobody thinks that there's another person on the other side of that. And that's kind of what I like about this. It's me and you are sitting right here,
right,
talking to each other. We get to see our facial expressions, our body language.
Yes.
And have real conversations besides just somebody, online talking shit or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate that. Everybody's got something to say, I guess. But, I'm with you. It's just, we can have a lot of fun on this podcast and things like that, but we're also going to find out things, get information, like real information about what's going on in the community and things like that. And I applaud you for doing that. That's when I saw it. I don't take a lot of time listening to radio stations or podcasts or anything like that, though I like them. I like the little snidbits, There's a bunch of guys that do some of the Western podcasts, and I just love to hear the stories and all that on there. And this can be that, and it already is starting to be. It sounds like. So.
And that's what I want, man. I just want to talk to y'all.
You bet.
And laugh and have a good time and get that information out.
You bet.
And let people know, some of the things that you've went and done your own research on and found out some things about these data centers and stuff like that.
Right.
And, we don't need to just jump on board just because we hear money.
Yeah.
We need to kind of take a step back and think about life and livelihood and the community as a whole.
Correct.
We got to stop thinking about the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always looked at it, and this is one thing I gotta plug Tim for this. Tim put a lot of work in some of that construction out there, but one time he looked at me and said, "You really just don't care about money, do you?" I said, "No, I know I gotta, pay the bills and stuff, but no, that's not my motivation."
Right.
Now that doesn't mean sometimes I've been very successful. There's been times that I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together, but it's not my motivation. It's a tool to do what I need to do for my family and maybe for others, around me. So that's what I'm after.
You saying that too, and I've mentioned it on a podcast or two before, but like anything, when this thing starts making money, whatever doesn't go back into it, 50% or what? Because like I said, I ain't trying to get rich from it. I'm just going to try to help the people that come on, and the charities and the people that are trying to make a difference, and try to help them out with that. If this thing ever does make money, and who knows if it ever will or not. To me, it doesn't really matter. Because this is just extra.
Yeah,
I'm doing it. It's costing me money to do it right now. I'm paying every month, to get y'all on, and I love it. And I'm just going to keep on.
I've already seen at least three organizations that you've had on here, and there might have been more because I haven't seen all 10 podcasts yet. But so you're already doing it. You're already kind of getting the awareness out about the people that sit in these chairs and have things that are going on in their community, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
So,
well, Jeff, thank you for coming on, brother.
Yes, sir.
It was a good time, and we definitely need to set something up and get a few of us in
here.
Yeah,
you bet.
And tell all some stories.
The guys, like we just kind of talked in a circle about people we both know, and that would be really great.
Yeah, when you said you were from Bluff, I was like, in Revista, I was like, I bet we know a lot of the same people.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I appreciate you coming on, brother.
You bet. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.